Well, here we go. Today's the day. We're going to load the screen onto the press. We're going to line it up using our registration marks, and then we're going to tape it up so that we don't get any ink that we don't want on the shirt going through any of those exposed areas onto the shirt. So we're going to tape off here. We're going to tape off this registration mark once we've lined it up on the platen, and then we're going to apply ink. We're going to flood the screen, load up a practice shot, and then we'll check out and see what it looks like before we actually put it onto our official white shirt. So we'll get into that process now. Put it in, and then we're gonna line up those registration marks with our line down the centre of our platen. Perfect. So now that we've got our shirt on the press, what we're going to want to do is make sure the off contact is set. It's very essential that we get that off contact right. So off contact is, you've got your platen, then you've got your shirt, and then you should have a little piece of air between the screen and the shirt. What we want to do is we want to have that as close as possible so that we don't have that mesh distortion, which then means when we actually push down, we don't distort the image and start getting, every time we push it down, getting different shapes. So we want to have it as close as possible, but we still want to have enough so that the actual mesh comes off of the t-shirt, leaving the ink on the shirt. This cheaper unit, the off contact does seem to change over and over, because yeah, there's a lot of free play in some areas, so we're going to want to check it usually most times before we start printing. So what we want to do is we want to feel the distance between the mesh and the platen, and you can I can feel it there, you know. I've actually got a dollar coin here to set up I want to have at least that much of a gap between the platen and the frame, which is that mesh. So that dollar coin is actually there just to sort of give me an idea of where it should be. So we should be looking at a gap like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set that up. So I'll just grab my key. There's an Allen key bit on the end. There's just 2 bolts here. What we can do is just undo them. Undo. Oh yeah. And then once we've got them loose, I'm just going to want to bring it down. You know, you can feel that. Bring it up a little bit. Perfect. That's exactly where I want it. I can feel that. It feels good. It feels. Oh yes. It feels really good. So what we're going to do is tighten that up. Tighten it up. Both of them. Perfect. Perfect. All lined up. All looking good. You know, sitting on that dollar coin, and then when I check here, it's nice. That's enough off contact for me, and you'll feel that once you start playing around with it, you'll notice the difference. You'll sort of know you don't really have to have it as far off as you think you do. So awesome. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape up the areas where I don't want ink to go through, all that open mesh, so the registration marks, and then the outside. I don't want ink spilling out. So I've just got green paintless tape. It's $10 a roll. You know, you want something that's not going to be too strong where it starts ripping off the emulsion off the screen, but you also want it to stay on there, especially when there's ink and there's less adhesion. This does a really good job. Just give it a... Also, what I want to do is I want to have an area here, just there, and then when I put my tape down either side, all I have to do is take the tape here, rip it off, and it takes down both those sides easily. You don't want to be scratching around with our fingers trying to get the tape off. So here we go. That's the reason you don't want large registration marks, because you don't want to use up too much tape, you know. There we go, we got our tape on there, nice, we've got enough on there. All the areas that we don't want ink on the shirt, we've got covered off. So now all we need to do is apply some adhesive to the platen so that we actually stick that shirt. And we don't want the shirt coming up. If the shirt comes up, it'll actually start to pull the ink, and then it starts to cause the issue of not actually having a smooth print. So get our adhesive. Give it a nice cone. You don't want to go too crazy, just enough to hold that shirt down. What I do is try and at least give it a little bit of air time to dry. And then I'm going to get an old shirt to test it out with. So here we go, I've got my nice white shirt. I'm going to load this up onto the platen. Nice and straight. And what we can do is, if we actually notice some lint build up on there, it's actually going to cause us to have a bit of an issue putting that ink on there, what we can do is actually get rid of it. What we're going to do is bring it down, put it down, see that the shirt's there, you know, that's nice. I'm happy with that. Even though this is only a practice shirt, it's also good to go through that process and just get it down. Then it becomes second nature. So what I'm going to do is, I've just got some Speedball black ink here. What you can do is you can get that from Spotlight, nice and easy, you know what I mean? Nice and easy. Bring that out. Just make sure ink doesn't go everywhere. So this is a water-based ink. Little spatula, just give it a little bit of a mix up. Water-based stuff you're not really going to have an issue with, but with the Plastisol, which is another version of ink, it does get quite thick. So we want to work it out and actually just make sure it's nice and pliable. You know, very good. So what we want to do is we want to put that on the screen. You know, this is going to be this bar here is actually going to have a lot of ink on it, so I'm going to want to apply a little bit more ink on there than here, and then once we drag it up, I'm probably going to want a little bit more ink just so I can cover that bit. So water-based ink just clears away. You know, there's no real issue, it just clears away with water. I've just got some baby wipes there. It's nice and clean just to get that stuff off, you know. There's no issues. Just wipes away, nice and easy. You know, I'll just put that aside because we can use that. We can use that later on. So I can just wipe my hands nice and clean. It's always good, especially when you're working with white. You want to make sure your hands are spotless. I've got my squeegee here, and what we're going to do is we're going to pull that ink to the top, and we're going to push some of that ink through the mesh, then flooding it. That's what it's called flooding. So we grab our squeegee, put it on a reasonable angle, not too much, not too little, and we're going to pull that ink up, up, and now we can see that it's actually coated. When we flood it, what we can actually see is the ink actually starts to come through that mesh already. What we don't want to do is you don't want to overflood it. We don't want to push lots and lots, and then when we've created that well, as we spoke about with the emulsion, we want lots of emulsion on that print side. The more emulsion we have on that print side, the deeper the well can be. So the more ink goes channeled down. If we only put, say, a really poor one coat, it's gonna actually come down just a small amount, and then it's gonna want to start to go around that emulsion. If we have a nice thick coat of emulsion on that print side, the deeper that well is, the more we can get in there, the thicker that coat of ink we can get on the shirt without it spilling out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it one more, and then I'm going to put it on the shirt. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull this one, nice and easy, because the ink's already there, so we don't have to push that hard. So we just bring it down, nice, you know what I mean? Then just a nice clearing stroke. What we're going to want to do is we're going to want to reflood the screen. So what happens is the water-based ink actually can dry in the mesh, and then what it does is it blocks it. We have issues, we don't get it on the shirt, and then we're going to have to take it over to the wash booth and wash out that dried ink, which could then cause issues, and we might destroy the actual print we've made. So just try and flood it as much as you can. Once you apply the ink onto the shirt, then flood the screen. And there we go. That's the image, one pass with the black ink. And that is a water-based ink. Clean, crisp lines. What we're looking for are any small bits of ink, any little bits of ink that might have passed through where we don't want it. So I'm happy with that. What I've got here is a heat gun, and what we can do is get it so that it's nice and dry to touch. Now that it's nice and dry to touch, what we can do is you can actually take it off the planting, nice and easy, take her off, and there you go. That's our shot. That's just a test print, so what we're going to do is we're going to load up the official shot and see how it looks. Make sure we've got nice clean hands. Remember to keep clean hands, because as soon as we've got dirty hands, it goes everywhere. So a nice flooded screen, bring it down. This is for the official one, so bring it down. What I just give a few taps there, and that will push the ink from the actual squeegee onto the screen, and we bring it just nice and light. Doesn't have to be too much. Just bring it there for a clearing pass, and actually whatever was left in the mesh then goes onto the shot. Bring it up. And there we go. That's our official shot. Nice, clean, crisp lines. Absolutely fantastic. Heat this up. Make sure clean hands, especially if we're going to give this to a customer. We want to make sure that it's not absolutely covered. And that is it. Official shot, nice, clean, crisp, no black everywhere, fantastic. So we're just going to put that aside, and then I'm going to clean up this water-based ink because I don't want it to dry in the actual screen. So what I do is I usually put an old t-shirt or something under there just to protect the platen from getting too much ink on there, and then I go through and I actually remove the ink and try and save as much as I can. What I did is I went to the reject shop and I got some little scrapers. I think it's 3 for $3, nice and cheap. You can go there for screen printing ones and they can cost you a little bit, but $3 for 3. And you've got small, medium and large, absolutely fantastic for this job. So what we're going to do is we're going to collect this stuff that's already in there. Just going to scrape it up. I put an actual squeegee down there, and we're going to use that to stop the ink from going too far. Do is do this, scoop it up, and then, you know, try and save as much as you can. Put that there, that lid, perfect. What we'll do is we'll take this over to the wash bay and give it a wash out. our image is outside, it's clean, it doesn't really take much to get that water-based ink off of the screen. You know, you really don't have to focus and scrub really hard. I only use just a baby wipe on there, just to sort of get a little bit off. It doesn't really matter, as long as you get the ink out of the mesh where you're actually going to be printing from, you can reuse that again and again. So we'll go through the heat setting of that water-based ink using a heat press. Here we go, this is my heat press. This is how we're going to cure this shot. We're going to set it up. So what we do is we go to mode and we can bring it down to about 320 Fahrenheit. So that should be around 160 degrees, but I'll put it down below. Then we'll put it to 320 and we'll allow for 3 minutes. And once that gets to temperature, we'll start hearing the infernal noise. The noise that wakes me up at night. I can't stand that noise. And even worse, when it's finished, it's one long constant beep. Anyway, so what I usually do is set it to 185, hit the countdown, and what it usually does is it starts counting down the preset time. And then once I'm ready, what I can do is stop that. Then the infernal noise comes back, put my shot in, and then press it and let it do its thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to get it ready to put the shot in. So we're just going to slide it across. Watch out, it's roasting. What I've got is some no brand baking paper. We're just going to get out a nice sheet. And that's going to protect the base. It's just going to, every time, just nice and clean, make sure everything's clean. I'm just going to put it down. Awesome. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get another sheet out, and this will go on top of the shot one. So bring it across, and I'm going to get the shot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load this shot onto the actual mat. Give it 16 seconds, and we can hear this noise. So, what we're going to do, shuts up, is we've got it on there nice. We want to make sure it's nice and flat. We don't want any creases or crimps or anything like that, because as soon as we put this 160-degree iron on here, it's going to then force that into the image and you're going to have a bad time. You don't want it. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure it's nice and flat, it's crisp, the image is looking good. So what we want to do is we put it on there, and then we get a nice clean piece of baking paper on there, no brand. And then what we do is we bring this over, reset the time, put it on there, nice light prick, doesn't have to be too much pressure, and start the timer. That's just reducing the pressure. Because what we're doing is we're just putting the heat into the ink. We don't want to crush it, we don't want anything, we just want to put the heat into the image and then set it. But after about 30 seconds, so at the 150 mark, what I usually do is I release some of the actual moisture that's built up in the shot. So what we do is just release that, and then you can see that moisture coming out. Just give the actual baking paper a little bit of a wriggle, make sure it's okay, and then we put it down. So now we just leave that to do what it does best and heat that stuff up. Heat it up. We get rid of that moisture, which is good, so the moisture doesn't sit on top of the ink. Actually, we let it go out. That damn house. But we just let that do its job, and then we should be fine. We'll let it count down, and once we come out, we'll be able to see that that actual ink has then gone into the threads of the shot, and we can wash it however we like, usually inside out in cold water, which is the best way to take care of your shot. We've got 3 seconds now. So we've got 3 seconds, that's it, done. Bring it out, bring the actual, doesn't really matter, you can just pop that back in, bring that out, and that is reusable, by the way. That is reusable if you want to. Just once you start seeing it crease and things like that, then you might want to replace it. But you know, we've got 30 meters of no brand baking paper, but here it is, what you want to see. There you go, I start to finish through the videos, if you followed me, to create a t-shirt. That's basically the steps, and again, you become easier and easier and easier the more you do it. Just like anything, practice, practice, practice. So there you go. We washed the screen, degreased it and emulsioned it. We let it dry, then we printed out the image, we burnt it, and then we put it in the wash booth and washed out all that unexposed emulsion. Then we loaded it up onto the platen, we flooded our screen with ink. The chosen ink, it could be anything you want, but that was a water-based ink. And then we actually put that image onto the shirt and then heat set it. Now the actual image can withstand washing, and it's not going to wash out the first or second time we actually put it in the washing machine. And that's exactly what a customer's going to want, or exactly that's what you're going to want. If you want to have that image, you're going to want to have it for a nice long time. But I thank you for watching, and until another, I'll see you later.